Guys, there's a new job opening on the Government UK website. Sharia law administrator. What? I thought it was just a conspiracy theory though. Are we getting it now? Are you hearing me now? Please, can you listen to me now? Please.
Can you please listen to me now? Can you please listen to me now? Now, I want to cover some things that have been going on in the UK because you need to know what's going to come here, what's already happening here, and what our future will look like. Okay, I've played many videos about what's going on around the world, particularly in the UK, but I want to show you more. I want to show you more because a lot of people are not taking this seriously. They're not. They think this can't happen in the US. Well, it already is. It already is. I've brought you the information about Texas. I've brought you the information over and over about these things, but more needs to be unveiled because you need to see what they're planning here, what they're planning, and how the governments around the world have allowed this to happen. And again, anybody who says it's no big deal, you're just Islamophobic, you're just hating, you're just whatever. Okay. If that's where you want to bury your head in the sand at, then by all means do that. But this is a very serious threat. They've openly called for Sharia law. They've called for these things in the U.S. They see Texas as the new Mecca of the West is what they're calling it. A lot of the people from the UK who were leaders there that brought all that stuff, well, they're now moved to the U.S. They've now moved to the U.S. They've said that Islam will be in every home in America. They said that if the parents are Islamophobes, well, we'll just take the kids. The kids will be Muslim. They will follow Islam. And that Sharia law needs to be the law everywhere. We're not here to integrate. But let's go down this path because it says, what a downfall for the UK. The UK Labour government now expect Britain to embrace Sharia law, which is already superseding British law in some areas of the country. Minister for Courts Sarah Sackman has argued Sharia courts must be allowed in the UK under the banner of religious tolerance. England has now more Sharia law courts than any other country in Europe, with many scholars predicting the UK will become majority Muslim by 2050. That number's too slow. That number's very conservative. The number one baby boy name in the UK is Muhammad. It's Muhammad. But I have more to show you, but let's listen to this woman.
Sharia law forms no part of the law of England and Wales, but in common with Christian, Jewish and other courts of faith where people choose to put themselves before those councils, that's part of the religious tolerance that is an important British value.
Where are these courts for all these other religions, and then demanding that everyone follows this and that it becomes law within the system? That is false, unequivocally false. Okay, unequivocally false. But this is and there's no real fight against it. In fact, people are jailed for saying anything about it. In fact, I was going to play something else, but let me show you. Let me see if I have this article. Look at this. And oh, it's more than just a crackdown with this. It's far-reaching. Thousands of people have been arrested, mostly for speaking out against Islam, against migrants, illegals, who are mostly come from Islamic countries, and for saying anything, even if a crime is committed against them, even pointing that out. And they now have new speech laws. You can't say mom and dad, ladies and gentlemen. Like the list, it is a hodgepodge of wokeness, a canceling of freedom of speech, and then at the same time trying to usher in Sharia law, which goes against, it's just, when I tell you the coalition makes no sense, but that's on purpose. I played a video before where a lot of people in Islam, they don't care. They will vote with the LGBTQ, the abortion rights, all of that, even though that is against their principles and what they believe in. But they do it because they feel like they're dumb. They feel like, because these people kind of have this unicorn, rainbow, uniparty vision that they will be accepted under religious beliefs, even though it goes against other parts of their core tenets. So again, how does the LGBTQ and abortion rights people and feminists, how does that go along with Islam and y'all all are voting in the same way? It makes no sense. But look here. It says the UK is already under Sharia law. This guy got 3.5 months in jail per word. Sutton man 61 who chanted who chanted who the F is Allah, okay, is jailed for 18 months. That was what he was put in jail for. That's it. Thousands of people are getting locked up. I kid you not. I kid you. I wish I was kidding, guys. I'm not. And I have more to show you. So here, let's put that in there. It says the UK is now home to 85 Sharia courts and 30 Sharia councils. There are 2 that we know of already in Texas. 2. Raise your hand if you think every one of these should be shut down. The only one law, and that is British law. There is only one law. It's only British law. Sorry, guys. I'm I'm not reading correctly, but there it is. There it is. Okay. Now I want to show you this. This actually goes hand in hand. So let me read this. Britain named Western capital for Sharia court. This is what they want in Texas. Investigation by the Times reveals 85 Sharia courts open in Britain. Online app widely in use lets Muslims decide how many wives they want. 100,000 Islamic marriages, many not officially registered. There is also, I want to, maybe I'll do a video on what is happening there. It's in Islam and in the UK, there is a huge health crisis with the children because they marry their cousins, first cousins, okay, blood relatives. There's documentaries about it, there's whole reports. But the children were born with crippling diseases, and I mean, it's just out of control. But part of the Sharia law or part of the Islamic belief system is that, you can marry your cousin, your first cousin. And this is what they're doing. I think Pakistan is the capital of that. I think over 60 or 70% of the marriages in Pakistan are between cousins, first cousins. Okay. And so then when they come over from their country, they're bringing that same thing into a Western country. And because they get free healthcare and all of that, and the majority are not working, well, it's draining the system, the health system, the financial system that is there. The taxpayers are getting it from both ends. They're not allowed to criticize it, but at the same time, they have to pay for it and pay for it in more than one way. So let me show you some more of this. All right. UK imam, no integration, in fact, let's just play it, but this is a UK imam.
Very simple. No integration, no multiculturalism, no diversity, no tolerance. I got my own deen, you got your own deen. You got your democracy, we got our own Sharia. You got your own free mixing, we got our own nikah. Own cheating within the marketplace, your own credit cards. We got our own economic system. We got our own foreign policy. We got our own deen.
And we've heard them say the same thing about the U.S. Is this not mirroring the things I've played for you? They're saying the same thing about the U.S. But let's continue. You're saying, Melanie, you're just making it up. You're being hyperbolic. You're just trying to scare people. Another Islamic scholar in the UK. Another thought leader in the UK.
Enforce the Muslims to take up their British values. Now, we don't like your culture. We don't like your gambling and your homosexuality and your promiscuity and your man-made laws. We don't like that. I think what we've got is better. We'll keep to that. No thanks. We believe that Islam is the best way of life, and the Islamic way of life is the best. The Sharia is the best law, and we believe sovereignty is only for Allah, and this is why we stick firm to it.
But they've said the same thing about the U.S. I kid you not. Now look at this. Lady in the UK tells an Islamic stall blaring out verses that this is a Christian country. And look what the police do. The police are not on your side there. Oh, no. They're coming to people's homes, arresting them on the street. You're not allowed to say a word to them, but they can do whatever they want. But if you say anything, well, then it's time to arrest you. We need to ruin your life. You're not allowed to say anything to them, regardless of what they do.
We're in England. It's a Christian country. I don't want to hear anything about the Quran. More Christians here.
And those angels apportioning each one. Indeed, what you have promised is true. And indeed,
take her away. Take her away. Bruh. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. We're so sorry, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. We did. You guys are talking about. I'm sorry.
So for her saying to them that she didn't want to hear those calls to prayer, exercising her freedom of speech, well, no, you're not allowed to. And they even are saying, arrest her, take her away, commanding the police what to do. Now, I played the video on the right before, but I think it's important to see the difference of what's going on so you can understand. So on the left, you have Muslims in the UK allowed to hand out free Qurans and able to set up booths to convert Christians to Muslims. Christians in the UK on the right, Christians in the UK are threatened by police for singing Christian songs in public. UK police say singing Christian songs is strictly prohibited, but you have the Muslim call to prayer going out 5 times a day and in pretty much every city. But let's look at this. Hopefully if I make it bigger, hold on. I'm going to have to keep it small so you guys can see it, but hopefully you get the idea. So you get the idea there. They're allowed to set up, do all of this to promote their religion, but you're not allowed to sing Christian hymnals. You're not allowed to sing Christian hymnals on the street if you are a Christian.
Religion you're allowed to do anywhere.
No, miss, you're not allowed to sing church songs outside of church grounds, by the way.
You're not allowed to sing church songs outside
of church songs or church
you're not allowed
grounds. That's fine.
You're not allowed. She just said you're not allowed to sing church songs outside of church.
Outside of church grounds, unless you have
That's
you've been authorized by the church to do this kind of song.
Are you saying that you don't care about the Human Rights Act? You're lost.
They do not care. I do not understand this, especially the police. I mean, it's just pure evil. There's no other way around it. But here is another UK Muslim leader, and I want to keep driving this home. They are saying the same thing here. They are doing the same things here. This is what they're trying to do. Okay. UK Muslim leader speaks on how to properly enforce Sharia law on women. In Birmingham, a Muslim community leader at the Green Lane Mosque openly lectured local residents and newly arrived migrants, illegals, on how to enforce Sharia law by stoning women and girls to death.
Her that she is punished and she is stoned to death. And according to the Sharia again, when it comes to women, there must be a hole dug in the earth, in the ground, and she must be covered up to half of the body, so that her satar does not appear. Her that she is punished and she is stoned to.
But now I want to show you what's going on UK TV. Like, it's really, really wild. So listen to this conversation.
But I can understand anti-Muslim hatred, because when you see Muslim terrorists, when you see a government that's trying to impose Sharia law, when you see Muslim rape gangs...
The government's not trying to impose Sharia law. That's utter rubbish.
No, when they allow Sharia courts, when they're trying to impose Islamophobia laws, when they're allowing Muslim rape gangs to get away with it, obviously there is Muslim hatred. That's all they see. You can't blame them, because some Muslim communities come to this country and expect the country to change for them. And when it doesn't, they're called racist. But there's nothing racist about trying to protect your values, British values and way of life. It's called patriotism. And that's something that Labour have to recognise. We are not a Muslim country, and those that come here who are Muslim have to recognise that and not try and impose their way of life on others.
And I think reform needs to learn that taking individual crimes by individual Muslim people and then aligning that with the whole of the Muslim community is wrong, reprehensible, and it is racist.
But we don't do that. But we don't. I'm Muslim myself. No, we don't. I don't blame my father or my family for the Muslim rape gangs. That is a particular group of disgusting men.
Absolutely.
And it's got nothing to do. Absolutely. But your party looked it over, and your party is still trying to cover it up. Yes, they are. They're trying to silence them. So when you have
this government is trying to change the law to allow previous cases that had been turned down to be properly investigated, and thousands of cases are coming forward.
Why was it turned down, Bill? Because your councillors and your MPs and your party looked it over. That's why. And it's only now that you're under public pressure to look it over that you're opening it up again.
I've debated this issue with you before, Layla. Go back to the 2012, 2013, when Keir Starmer, as Director of Public Prosecutions, was one of the first people to grip this issue and say there's a real problem with grooming gangs and we need to overturn the law.
He wasn't part of the Labour Party then, and 250,000 girls were groomed and tortured under Labour constituencies, and your councillors and your MPs looked it over, looked the other way to protect their vote.
True.
So when the public see that we have a political party that is pandering to a Muslim vote, debating whether it's a criminal offence to criticise Islam, allowing Sharia courts to flourish, and then overlooking Muslim rape gangs, and then we have a prevent system that is actually chasing so-called far-right fantasy crimes and denying
the biggest number of referrals to the prevent programme are on the far right.
Well, that is a problem, because
we have had
no terrorist attacks in this country from the so-called far right. We have had it from Islamic terrorists.
What about the guy who murdered Joe Cox? What about the man that murdered Joe Cox?
Listen, I'm not overlooking that. It was a terrible thing.
You just overlooked it.
No,
you just said there's no evidence of far-right extremism, and there was a far-right extremist who murdered a Labour MP.
Relax.
Yeah, I'm not relaxing, because I get very angry when you disgracefully misrepresent the picture.
Are you saying that far-right terrorism is a bigger danger to this country than Islamic terrorism? Is that what you're saying?
I think they're both a threat and a danger to this country.
Do you think they're an equal threat?
And I actually think...
Wow. So you're comparing one horrific death to July 7th, the bridge. You're comparing that to one death. We have ISIS. We have so many Islamic terrorists. We have the Muslim Brotherhood that has infiltrated this country through the boat. And you are saying that Prevent should focus on far-right extremism.
No,
you have lost the plot, mate. You've lost the plot, Bill.
I'm talking about the referrals by the agencies to the Prevent programme, and the majority, or the biggest number, are on the far right. I actually think... Hold on.
Defunct. Prevent has no use.
You've got to stop interrupting.
I can't interrupt the Perrier. I'm going to the White House. Goodbye.
Like, they are literally, like... You have leaders of the parties over there, like, arguing about this and acting like it's no big deal. I mean, he's defending this with his life, but this is what goes on. And you can't say certain things. The woman that was on there, she can't say certain things, or she's going to be taken off air. She could be jailed. All types of punishments for saying things, for calling things for what they are. So you have to kind of tiptoe the line. And then you have idiots like absolutely deranged psychos that are just okay with this and want to this false equivalence that there's these far right terrorists. Where in the UK? Okay, when people on the streets of Britain are being terrorized every single day, and this is what they want. This is what the government wants. I don't understand it other than it plugs into their one world order, their new world order that they want. Okay? So Sharia law is becoming the law of the land over in the UK. But going into what she talked about, the gangs raping little girls, listen to this report. Because if you listen to that guy, he makes it like it's no big deal. But that is how the UK court system has handled it so far. Even a mother who called out, I believe her daughter was raped and called them out. It's actually said that they were Muslim and spoke out against it. But on a social media post, she got over 2 years in prison. Nothing even extreme, not what you see over here, the things we say. Nothing extreme, just pointing out the ethnicity or religion. Well, that's a problem. That's a problem. So now this mother whose daughter was raped by these men, she is the one that ended up in prison.
Good evening. Now, before I start, I just want to give a warning that the content of this might be a bit distressing to some viewers and listeners. Should the Pakistani rape gang scandal actually be called the Islamic rape gang scandal? According to a new report conducted by an expert on Islamic studies, well, it sets out several key aspects of the Islamic faith that he claims explains the phenomenon of groups of some Muslim men raping mostly white girls, some of which may well obviously be disputed by Muslim groups. But these are the doctrine of the superiority of Muslims over non-Muslims, the doctrine of loyalty and disavowal, also known as love and hate for the sake of God, the superiority and dominance of men over women, the mandated seclusion of women by men, the religious practice of forced marriage and the lack of a concept of an age of consent, the perceived threat of dangerous female sexuality, the practice of sex slavery as an aspect of the laws of jihad, and dehimitude and the treatment of conquered non-Muslim peoples in Islamic laws. Now, this report claims that while Pakistani men are overrepresented in the grooming gang convictions, the overall proportion of Muslim perpetrators is even greater. And this is backed up by powerful, extremely distressing testimony from a rape gang survivor, Ella Hall, which is not her real name. She testifies that her abuse was racially and religiously aggravated. She was raped because of her race and religion, and her rapist told her while she was being raped that this was happening because she was white and because she was a Christian. And during rapes, she was verbally abused for being a non-Muslim. Now, I'm going to read to you now a little bit of Ella Hill's testimony. This was provided to the J inquiry in 2019. Now, again, this might be a bit distressing to viewers and listeners. She says, I was told that to show them respect, I mustn't eat pork. I was told that Muslim girls are good and pure, and they stay virgins until marriage, but all white girls are slags, and they all sleep with hundreds of people. I was told white girls are trash, they're all whores, they are lower than feces under your shoe, they don't obey Allah, so they deserve to be punished, they don't dress modestly. Muslim women are pure because they cover down to their ankles and down to their wrists, and the hem of their top comes down below their knees. White girls show the curves of their body, so they are asking for it. They should be raped as punishment for not obeying Allah. Sex with a kafir, which is a non-believer girl, doesn't count as adultery. They believed they had a position of religious moral superiority over non-believers. They believed it was their duty to punish us, as they believed that doing so made them good Muslims. This is what they were taught by their mothers. I was told that in Islam, if a girl or woman looks at a man who isn't her brother, father, or her husband, then that means she wants to have sex with them. So I was told to look at the floor when I was around Muslim men. So when I did look at a waiter in a restaurant, I was then taken away to be gang raped as punishment. I was told that according to their faith community, girls are old enough for sex when they start their periods at age 11. All of the sexual abuse that I experienced was linked to spiritual abuse or religious abuse. Religious scriptures were used as tools of control to force me to conform to their will. The report goes on to paint an apparent pattern of sexual abuse perpetrated by some men of the Muslim faith. For example, in 2021, the BBC actually reported that as many as 1,000 non-Muslim girls, so Christians, Hindus and Sikhs, are abducted each year in Pakistan and forced to convert to Islam and then marry their abductors. The concern here, of course, is that if they can be justified by aspects of the religion of Islam in Pakistan, then is that something that some people of Pakistani heritage might bring with them here to the UK? There's also marriage trafficking. In 2009, Home Office statistics reported that 90% of victims of forced marriage in the UK were Muslims. They were, in many cases, taken to Muslim countries like Pakistan, Bangladesh, Somalia and Afghanistan. Now, the report outlines several recommendations about how to deal with the issue here in Britain. They say, fears of stoking Islamophobia should not be allowed to scuttle transparent investigation of the grooming gang's religious cultures. The religious identities of both perpetrators and victims should be rigorously recorded. Police should be trained to interview grooming gang suspects concerning their religious beliefs. Police should also be trained to investigate the religious aspects of the testimony of the victims. The state should enforce a legal prohibition of unregistered Sharia marriages. The role of abusers' family members in enabling abuses must be considered. That is a very important factor, I think. Islamic religious leaders should be called upon to disavow the activities of grooming gangs, as well as certain religious beliefs which have enabled grooming gang activities. Politicians should refrain from making dismissive but ignorant claims concerning what Islam does and doesn't teach about human sexual relations. It must be publicly acknowledged that there are Muslims who reject the key elements of the grooming gang cultures as well. Now, the UK Forced Marriage Unit should remove statements on its website that there is no religious basis to force marriages in Islam. Awareness training should be provided to vulnerable white working class communities who are being targeted by grooming gangs. For example, the Sikh community already have programmes which could be used as a model. Now, of course, some Muslims have condemned the rape gang scandal and reject claims that their faith could be used to justify this criminal and abhorrent behaviour. But based on the findings of this report, I wonder whether it is time to have a serious conversation about whether or not it is actually a small number of people's interpretation of the religion of Islam that is primarily responsible for the widespread rape and sexual abuse of predominantly white working class girls.
How is this even reality? They're tiptoeing so much. Well, we don't want to be Islamophobic and we don't want to say this. You know, maybe we have to consider their religious. Like, did you hear this? These are not isolated incidents. We're talking about thousands, hundreds of thousands of girls and women that have gone through this. And there's no punishment. There's no punishment because this is their religious beliefs that they're allowed to do this. I kid you not. So understand what I am trying to tell you. The evidence is all out there. All you have to do is look, and you need to be telling people about what's going on. This is very important. Just as important as I've told you about the Muslims who are killing Christians and so much more. So much more that they're doing to families, to men, to women, to children, to babies that are out there. So this is an important message, and you just have to see, like, the people in the UK have nowhere to turn. They have absolutely nowhere to turn. And that's what they want to bring over here. They're having arguments about, you know, it's wrong to bring up what their beliefs are when their beliefs say that this is okay, that it's part of it. I don't get it. I do not get it at all. But guys, let me know in the comments what you think about this. I know that was a lot. That was a lot to digest, but it's important that we don't close our eyes and ears and bury our head in the sand and just hope that everything is going to be okay. Because by doing that, that's really what the UK did at first. They allowed the government to pull the wool over their eyes. I don't know why the government has allowed it to go this far and to allow children to go through this, but this is what's happening, and there is zero justice for any of them. So leave a comment. Like I said, that was a lot. I got to take a break, but I will be back with more. So make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I will see you guys very shortly.